Is that Jim O'Connell? J-O. Can you hear me?
Hey folks, we're still waiting for a couple of members of the board and then we'll be able to get started.
Yeah.
I believe we're waiting on Damien and Steven still. All right, so anybody who is attending and they're not listing their name, we need you to please speak up and give us your name so that we can keep track of who's attending on our minutes. So I see someone who is signed in as Joe, who just signed in, and I see a number that is 187973. So we're gonna need you guys to identify yourselves, please.
Becca, I heard you, but I did not hear a reply from either of those two anonymous callers.
I didn't either. And it looks like the one that was listed as Joe has either put up a name or something happened.
Okay.
So we're still looking for the person who is number 187973.
Who also needs to unmute in case you didn't notice that.
All right. And I have no control over who mutes and unmutes from my end. All right. So.
Speaking of which, who's actually running the meeting tonight in terms of like putting up documents and stuff like that, sharing screens? Is that you?
I believe
Becca?
Nancy has it.
Nancy, you doing that?
I am.
Cool.
Okay. And Steven, are you here? Are you under Iris? You'll need to unmute yourself.
Can you see he just wrote? Does that come up in your chat?
No, let me look for my chat here.
It says, I can't change Iris's name, but
Okay.
It's me, Stephen.
Okay, that's fine as long as we know you're here. All right. So that means that we have, and I just lost unchat. Okay. All right, so I see him and Damien and me and John. So that's enough of us to have a meeting. Tom is on vacation, and Damien, you are designated to vote with us tonight. All right, and everybody, Nancy, can you see everybody's identification now?
Yes, I can.
We know who's at the meeting. Awesome. Okay, then we are at 6:06 and we can come to order and have a look at the agenda, which I lost as soon as I opened my Zoom window. We need to start with the minutes. Let me get over here. I totally lost my agenda. Printed out everything else. There it is. All right, and I believe Tom sent us the agenda, the meeting minutes from February quite a while ago. Did anybody have a chance to get to those? Remember what they were?
he sent them a while ago, I would have read them then, but I don't recall them.
Okay.
And if there was a mistake, I probably would have made a note of it. So I think they looked all right to me.
All right. I don't actually have them in front of me. Damien, did you get a chance to look at them, or should we just table this till Tom is back, since he's the one who has to deal with it anyway?
I didn't get a chance to look at them. I just was
Okay.
looking for them online now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to have to try to pull them up either. You can wait until the next meeting to do that if you want.
Okay.
Speaking of which, who's taking minutes tonight?
The recording.
So is Tom going to go back afterwards and listen to the recording? Is that right?
I'm hoping so. If not, I'll have to go back through and write stuff down. So, all right. Okay, so let's move the February meeting minutes to next meeting when Tom is here, and we'll just do February and March at the same time. All right. Do I need to make a motion for that? Anyone remember?
It was on the agenda. That was
Okay.
nothing wrong with it.
Motion to hold the meeting minutes until the next meeting where we can do both February and March.
Second.
All in favor? I need to hear your voices.
Yes.
That's John. Damien?
Yes.
Stephen?
Get it?
There you are.
Aye.
All right. So that was all of us in favor. All right. Maybe I should be trying to keep some notes. That's next time. Okay. So I notice we have a lot of people in the audience who are here for different topics. Do we have a bunch of people here for a commercial permit for dragging and dredging? Anybody in the audience here specifically for that at this time? Because if not, we could move that to the end of the meeting and move on to harbor study. Okay, I am seeing no responses. I see no hands up on this end. Anybody see any hands up? Nope, okay.
No, I'll definitely let you know when there's hands up.
Okay, would anybody mind if we move the dragging and dredging discussion to after the things we have people here for?
And the idea of that, Becca, just so I'm clear, that was going to be so people with boats that drag and dredge would be able to attend. Is that right?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we put that back towards the end of the meeting, we could move on to the harbor study. And then we can move on to the revised proposal to fill in Lieutenant Island Bridge puddle. And then we can come back to the dragging and dredging, and our guests won't have to stay for the whole length. Sound good? Any complaints? Nope. Okay. Whoops. I hit the wrong button. Hold on a second. And we had John Ryle. Are you here for the harbor study?
I think so.
John,
First of all, can you all hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the time and the consideration. The last time there was a full survey and study of the harbor, Wellfleet Harbor, was back in 1970, which in terms of shellfishing, that was before there was any aquaculture. So as part of a warrant article request, the NRAB is requesting a sum of $60,000 for the purpose of sponsoring a field survey of the flora and fauna of Wellfleet Harbor. especially shellfish and finfish, as a basis for future actions to preserve and enhance this environment. It's an interesting time right now because the Herring River restoration is imminent, we hope. The wastewater committee is implementing a project to improve the wastewater, the water in the harbor. And climate change is about to take off and go. So this is a good time to see what's in the harbor and use the information to plan future work. As far as shellfish are concerned, there are two main action items that we're considering at the moment. One is to survey wild shellfish, the productivity of wild shellfish locations, both tidal and in the harbor channel. And scientists likes to make a prediction before it does a study to see if the results prove the prediction right. The prediction in this case is that the productivity of these locations should be increased compared to 1970 because all the aquaculture has produced a lot of spat, and that spat helps produce new shellfish. The second thing we want to emphasize is a study of phytoplankton, which is the food for shellfish. And we want to be sure that not only from our own surveys, but from looking at results for harbors south of here, south shore of Cape Cod, Narragansett Bay, go all the way down to Barnegat Bay, where there is warmer water, that the phytoplankton productivity and safety is not endangered. We're in the process of putting together a request for proposal. And I have a note to myself that we would consult with Nancy Chaved and Tom Siggia about what this says, what we should do in more detail. The select board has approved this, both to place it on the warrant and recommend a vote in its favor. I'm asking the same from you for your comments and support, and I'll turn that over now, Becca, to you for answering any questions or discussions. John Duane is also a member of NRAB, and so he may want to step in and help me answer some questions.
All right. John, have you got some more?
Yeah, I can just ask Nancy if I sent around the language that John put together for the town warrant. It's draft language, but it's pretty much what's going to be in the town warrant, along with the summary of why we're asking for it. So if you're able to share the screen and you can pop it up, we could look at it. It's that's a couple paragraphs long, but it's really pretty basic. I thought John did a good job requesting why we need it. And so it's up to you guys. If you need to look at it, I've emailed it to everybody here on the board. If anybody in the audience wants to take a look at it, there was 2 documents I sent, and that would be it right there.
Thank you.
I'm not going to be able to read it out loud. However, I can just review it. So my understanding is, and this was right out of the draft warrant that I pulled this out of, or maybe it was a document, John, that you prepared and sent around that I changed, but this is the language I believe that's going to make it into the town warrant. If anybody sees anything here that looks improper or you don't understand the reasoning behind it, I'll be happy to try to answer the questions. My intention of speaking about it at this meeting was to see if there's anything that anybody in the shellfishing community specifically wants to make sure that's the main focus of it. I mean, shellfishing is going to be a main focus of the harbor survey. So if there's anything particular that somebody wants to be included in it, I would say this is an opportunity to speak up.
Did a list of the things that we've discussed at other meetings on this topic, did they get saved and forwarded to your board? Because I think we've brainstormed on this before.
Yeah, we actually talked about this at length at a prior meeting, and I think I may have included that in here. Maybe, yeah. We've discussed this before at Shellfish Advisory Board meetings, and so simply put, because I sit on both boards, I don't recall. I'm getting a little bit of, I don't really recall exactly what we have discussed at NRAB regarding this, but certainly they've been aware of, NRAB wants to have this harbor survey done for that, based on the fact that harbor use, it's not just shellfishing, it's for a lot of things. It's for fin fishing, it's for boating and recreation, the amount of money that comes in from the original harbor survey that was completed back in 1969, and I think it was published in 1970, that included a lot of information about the dollars that were coming into the town, how many people were participating in certain activities in the harbor, birds, a lot of different things in the harbor that some of which may have changed, some of which were never included at all back then. Climate change was something I don't think it was ever touched on. So there's going to be room to formulate what the best strategy is. I think where we're at right now is to kind of just have a general, to see how this board, Shellfish Advisory Board, feels about having a new harbor survey done. And if there's anything specific that you'd like to see done in it, I think the time is right to get this done. It's not a ton of money when it comes to funding a project of this type. And I think the next step for us, for our board, is for NRAB is going to be to get a request for a proposal. I guess that comes from the town. I'm not exactly sure. John might be able to explain better how that happens, but any letters that we can have to support our efforts towards this is the reason I bring it in front of Shellfish Advisory Board tonight.
Okay, do you need a formal letter of support?
I don't. I can just basically we can just take a vote, and I can add the vote that we take tonight to this. This is basically, that's what, that we're supporting NRAB's efforts, and it can just be, we can just note, NRAB can note that, we voted however we voted, either in favor of it or against it.
Okay.
Becca?
So, yes.
Two things. One is, assuming that this gets approved, the next step, as John has mentioned, is to produce a request for proposal. And it's in that document that your specific concerns would be addressed. So if you would send me a copy of those to make sure that I properly review them, I would include your. It's a good way to make sure that your needs are in the request for proposal, which sets out what's actually going to happen. The second thing is, if you take a vote on this, you should go to the town administrator, and he would have the responsibility to see that that vote is listed on the town warrant as a recommendation.
Okay.
So this vote would be would appear before the voters at town meeting.
Becca, I guess I'll ask John through you. Is that something that's typically done by a letter to the TA, or is it something we can just make a phone call and tell them?
I think a letter would probably be the right way.
All right. Well,
Can I
Becca,
just interrupt for a minute?
yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Okay, so I think what you want to do here is vote to recommend this article at town meeting. And then you can just email the town administrator and tell him that Shellfish Advisory voted on such and such a date to support Article 18 and to please include it in the warrant that Shellfish Advisory Board recommended. So you're voting, you're recommending to town meeting voters that this article pass and this funding opportunity happen. And then I don't think you write a letter or anything. It's just, they just need to know to print it in the warrant. And then the other thing is that that meeting that we had where we talked with Owen Nichols and we spent a lot of time outlining all the different things that we thought should be part of this study. Hopefully those minutes are somewhere online. We'll just have to figure out which meeting it was where Owen Nichols came. And then those minutes should be there, which had everything outlined that we thought was important.
Yes, we had a long discussion, so there should be pretty well documented there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Zach might remember because at that point he was doing minutes.
I can track that down. Now that you remind me that Owen Nichols met, I can go back and find the right minutes.
Great. Sometimes being video recorded all the time is helpful.
So I guess are we going to make a motion to vote on this? Is that right? Somebody need to do that?
Yes. Why don't you do that?
Okay.
Unless, hold on, wait, let's just say, does anybody else on the board want to discuss any more about this before we make it?
Anybody in the audience?
Becca, you also have to designate your alternate if you so desire.
I thought I did.
Oh, you did at the
Damien
beginning?
to vote, but yes, Damien is our alternate. He is designated to vote tonight.
Sorry, I must have missed it.
Well, if you missed it, then I better repeat it. So, okay, so not seeing that anybody has anything else to weigh in before we do this, John, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve. I will make a motion to send to the town administrator a copy, our recommendation. Actually, now that I come to think about it, let me start over again. I'm making a motion just to whether or not to approve this article. Is that correct?
Yes.
So recommend.
Article 18.
Recommend.
Here you go. I'll make a motion to that the Shellfish Advisory Board recommend the language as printed to support the article prepared by the Natural Resources Advisory Board for the ATM warrant.
You might also want to say Article 18.
I'm not sure it's going to be Article 18. That was in the draft. That's a draft warrant, so I'm not sure what it's going to be. I mean, I only changed it to 18 because I think it's going to be 18, but they were talking about rearranging orders, so I don't know.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So I think I said it correctly. If you want me to repeat it, I'll try to repeat it. Actually,
I guess we could go with it. Gonna have to go back and take notes anyway.
Yeah, because nobody's taking minutes. All right. So
right.
Yeah. So we need to take a vote.
So I'll second it and a vote. A roll call vote. John, you want to start? Just because you're the closest person on my screen. Damien?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
All right, and me, yes. So it passes 4-0.
Is that 4-0?
Yep, 4-0 to recommend that article.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will
Has everyone
volunteer.
here, by the way, heard that town meeting will not happen until June this year?
June 11th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The select board voted that
And last week. All right.
at their last meeting, and the problem is that they have to continue to clarify the town finances before they can decide how to proceed with town meeting.
Okay.
But
good to know.
Thank you for your support, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for coming again to talk to us about it. Appreciate it. Right.
I will volunteer, Becca, if you need somebody to transmit to the TA.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Our vote is 4-0. Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
And John, are you still with us here? John,
I am.
Yeah. So that what I printed up and what was showing on the screen there, that was correct. And what I emailed to you, that's correct, right?
Yep.
Okay. We're good.
Okay. Are we ready to move on?
I am.
Sounds good. Okay. So Nancy, can we skip the shellfish department update and move on to the puddle?
I
and
can
then
go
we'll
last.
Okay. We'll come back and finish that business. Okay. So who is here to talk to us about the plan to fill in that big puddle? Melissa, I saw you on there.
Hi.
Oh.
So I think Sonia brought this to you last fall.
Yes. I believe it was November.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the original proposal by the Audubon to fill the hole was in September, and that was talked about at length at the Conservation Commission hearing. It seemed as if that was not going to get approved on the basis that it was destructive to the marsh, as well as for a number of other reasons. The Audubon has decided to revise their proposal with native coarse sand, and that new hearing is going to happen on March 16th at 5 p.m., which is low tide. So I was hoping that we could get some kind of support from you guys in written form, since I can't really expect shellfishermen to show up and voice their support.
Yes, inconvenient tiding.
Becca, through you?
Yes.
I drafted a letter that should also be attached to that email I sent you, Nancy. Are you able to pull that up too?
Yes.
Yes, bear with me 1 second.
At the meeting we had in November, we discussed it and we had all been in favor of supporting this if it came back around. So that ties into this letter that we're prepared with.
So I addressed that. So anyways, it's a letter in support of it. I didn't think that there was, we talked about it back in November and nobody was opposed to it. It's it sounds like it's something that needs to happen there. So that's kind of what I said. It was a very brief letter, but it's to the point.
All right.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Take your time to read it. You can. The key points are the fact that vehicles have a hard time getting through that mud hole, and it needs to be addressed on a long-term basis in an eco-friendly way. So the application, I believe, was by the Wellfleet Bay Wildlife Sanctuary. After speaking with the director there, so that's why I addressed it. I addressed it to the Conservation Commission. I carbon copied a lot of folks, and one of which was the Mass Audubon Society, Wellfleet Bay Wildlife Sanctuary.
Okay.
Can I?
And you got this? Yes.
I think this looks fabulous. My only concern is the long-term strategy for maintaining vehicle access to the shellfish beds. Our committee, the Rights of Public Access Committee, has spoken about this today, and it seems as if filling the sand hole seems to be a short-term strategy for addressing this issue, because sea level rise is going to be an issue here and probably already is. And I think we recognize that this proposal is more of a short-term thing. We're trying to find other longer term alternatives, but there's not many. And I just think in the meantime, this is an important way to address our short-term needs, but that's just our committee's.
Okay. Is there a phrase we want to use besides short-term that gives it more of a, not stopgap either, but something that implies that we understand that it's not going to be filling the void forever, but it will fill the void for a short amount of time? A medium amount of time is what I'm trying to say. Or do you just want us to use short-term and go with the same terminology?
I don't know. John, do you have any thoughts on this? Sorry, Becca, threw you over.
Sure.
I'll ask John Reel. John Reel, I don't know if you have any thoughts. I could, that's the wording, I agree. While it's a long-term strategy, I'm trying to think of a way to qualify that so that it's not quite as, you know, I mean, the bottom line is that we can plan for, try to plan for a long-term strategy. I don't think we need to plan for 10 years even or 15 years, but planning for it not to last, you know, for not to require maintenance every year on end anyways. I would have to look at and try to figure out a way to kind of qualify that or soften it a little bit. I'm trying to think, you know.
What if we just took that right out? Because I mean, hopefully this will last a decade.
It was literally, I put this together in pieces when I was had different thoughts going on, but
it's an environmentally sound strategy for maintaining vehicle access. If we just take out that time period qualifier, it sounds just as good. And then we don't have to worry about it.
Vehicle access, where is that? I'm trying to.
Starting at the bottom, it's one line up. Assuming I'm looking at
just right after saying maintaining vehicle access and put a period? No, long-term, I get it.
Yep.
Environmentally sound
strategy.
There you go. Just get rid of just get rid of long-term.
I mean, even if it's short term, it's still environmentally sound to fill it with.
Yeah. You're developing a strategy for doing it. Nobody really says that this needs to be for like 30 years or 20 years. I think we all know that eventually sea level rise is going to get that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that's actually the Conservation Commission's job. It's not, you know, Shellfish Advisory Board. You guys want to get, this is a letter from the Shellfish Advisory Board. So I would think the shellfish community should say, we want to have vehicle access back there, and they're going to do everything they can. If the Conservation Commission eventually tells them, sorry, you know, you can't go back there anymore, then they can have that fight at that time. I don't think this document's going to, I don't think that this document's going to get in the way of that.
Okay. Melissa, does this cover everything you need us to say in support of this?
I think it does. This is great. Thank you, guys.
All right. So we'll just so I know, Becca, we're talking about deleting the words long-term and the rest of it's fine. Is that right?
That's the only change that I see.
It's fine with me. Like I said, it just basically says what the problem is, and here we go.
Right. Okay. Anybody else on the board have an opinion? Can't see anybody from here.
If I missed something, if there's a bad typo or something that you guys notice later, just tell me. Otherwise, I will assume that this is good to go.
Hey, Becca?
Yes.
John Reel is on our committee. I think he has his hand up.
Okay, thank you. I can't see anything. John, are you?
Yeah, well, assuming that there's a positive vote through you, I just wanted to ask Nancy if either she or as some representative from the Shellfish Department could be at this meeting, because I think the more voices in favor of this that Conscom hears, the more likely it is to pass through.
Have you also spoken to the fire department? Do they know that there's an access road here in case like there's a fire in the marsh or somebody has a heart attack on the beach? They might want to weigh in on the ability to get down this road in the event of an emergency.
I had not thought of that.
I could pardon me, I will interrupt with just the fact that the thing is that this is not a road. It's a little bit unusual that we're basically driving across the Wellfleet Bay's wildlife sanctuary's piece of land. It may look like a road, but officially it is not a road after talking to the assessor today.
Right.
So it's a little bit unusual. And the thing that makes it a little bit different is the fact that we're talking about keeping it open for shellfishing down there. There's not like anybody's house down there that needs to access the house. So this is going to be a shellfishing issue. Mm-hmm. Unless there's something I need to know about the area back there. Is there any grants back there, Nancy?
Is there any what?
Leases?
No.
Okay. So strictly for wild picking. Again, so that's the other thing that makes it a little bit unusual is the fact that, you know, it's not a road. It's, we've had permission, and the Wellfleet Bay Wildlife Sanctuary is all for this, for trying to figure out a way to make it work. And they're being good neighbors to do that. So that as long as they're willing to do that, I think the town should go ahead and let them, you know, we'll see how it goes at the CONSCOM meeting, but it seems to me that that's what's going to, if the town should go ahead and let them do it if proper sand is going to work there.
I will be at the meeting. I was just checking my calendar and I already have it on there for 5 o'clock next Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Nancy.
Yes. All right.
I think the letter serves the purpose that it informs CONSCOM that this is an important issue to the shellfish community. And I think that should carry some weight.
Hey, Becca?
Yes.
Sorry, I should have raised my hand.
I can't see it anyway, it's fine. Screen share.
I'm wondering, is Barbara Brennesol on?
Yeah, she is.
Yep. Barbara, would you like?
Is she able to weigh in?
Yeah, Barbara, are you available? Is there anybody else in the audience who also wants to talk about this point?
Let me see if I go ask to unmute, if that works. I think I hit ask to unmute. I don't know.
Barbara, are you there?
I'm unmuted.
There
I
you are.
couldn't do anything because all I can see was a letter here.
Oh,
but
okay.
I can't I
hear you
can't
now.
comment because this is coming before us next Wednesday.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just listening at this point, but I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Is there anybody else in the audience who wants to comment on this, or anyone else on the board? Let's see everybody's name listed over here. All right. I'm not hearing anything. So we all agree. Well, do we all agree that we'd like to use this writing that's John has for us? Does it look good to everybody?
With the exception of getting rid of long-term at the bottom.
Yes.
Correct? Yep.
Exactly. Get rid of that one. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to, what should we say? How about, do we need 2 motions? One to express our support of the application and then one to send this paperwork? Anyone remember how this works? Nancy?
I
This
think
is
you
why
just
we
say
need
that you approve the letter and sending it. I think you do one motion.
Okay. John, do you want to make the motion?
No.
Nope. Okay. Anybody else?
Somebody else
wrote
who
it.
didn't write the letter.
Damien, Stephen? Anybody?
Yeah, motion to
Okay.
send the letter as written and support this.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
As corrected.
As corrected.
As corrected.
As
Sorry.
corrected minus long term. Okay, I'll second that. So all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Electronic copies are still good everywhere, right?
Okay, Stephen, was that you saying yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I'm saying yes. So that's 4-0. We're gonna send this. Minus the word long term. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this before we move on? Nope.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for letting us know what's going on. All right. And thank you, John Rail, for weighing in also. All right. So we are now moving on. Are we not? All right. Screen share is down. So now I can see what I'm doing again. Okay.
Becca, could I just comment real quick
Sure.
on that last bit?
Yes.
It just was occurring to me that anybody who's listening and is conservation minded, I feel like the avoidance of that puddle is going to do more damage to the existing surrounding marsh
Yes.
than the repair would.
It's absolutely horrible. I went down and had a look at it, and there's no way to go around it because there's a fence on the uphill side and there's marsh on the downhill. So
Hey, Becca?
definitely worse if we don't. Yes.
So to Damien, are you going to go to that meeting? Did you go and say that at that meeting? That would be helpful. I mean, are you going to plan on attending that ConsCom meeting?
I'm not sure when the date is. I'm pretty swamped right now. I'm actually got handfuls of wrenches in my hand.
Well, it's the 16th.
16th.
Anyways, we're writing a letter, so that's fine. But that's a good point, and I did not include that point. But you're right about that.
Having looked at, where was it? The letter that was sent to us, the Rights of Public Access Committee sent a really good letter that was in our email.
Yep.
That did, I believe it did touch on that a bit.
Okay, well, that's good.
Go back and double check. Okay. Okay. So, shall we work backwards now? Do you have anybody else here for any particular thing? Anybody in the audience? All right. Shall we start with the Shellfish Department's updates?
Hey, if you want to take Damien's thing first, that's fine.
Sure, we could do that.
About the boat.
Damien, you ready for that discussion?
Yes.
All right. So that's the commercial permit for dragging and dredging is the discussion point. So where would you like to go with that?
I think originally we had, it had come up when there was some problems last year with a former Wellfleet resident who was operating a current Wellfleet vessel. And Nancy, or the department rather, was worried about not being able to have enforceable action on the non-resident, and that the way the regulation seems to be written and the way that I think that it has been enforced, I know that I've utilized the clause, allows for a vessel that is documented in Wellfleet to be operated by a captain that doesn't hold a shellfish permit, as long as there's someone on board that has a shellfish permit. And I think the department's concern was that that doesn't make the captain liable for, for any enforceable, mishap, and I had thought that possibly having, and I want to clarify, I think maybe that it should be a hardship thing, but that you could have potentially some type of town license that would license a non-domiciled person to operate a boat. You'd still have the same requirement that you'd have to have a domiciled license holder on board as well. But that was kind of my thought on that.
Okay. So if I'm understanding right, you're saying that in 8.6, where it says owner or operator of the vessel engaged in commercial shellfishing in the waters of the town needs to have a valid commercial shellfishing permit. You're saying that you'd need to make it so that it would have to be whoever's actually on the boat? Or specifically, the owner would also have to have a Wellfleet license? I'm a little confused.
I am too. So which clause is that? It says the owner or operator has to?
I have 8.6. Says commercial permit required for dragging/dredging. The owner or operator of a vessel engaged in a commercial shellfishing in the waters of Wellfleet involving the use of a drag, dredge, or other mobile gear shall hold a valid town of Wellfleet commercial shellfish permit.
Right. Okay. And so this would then require it to be the operator would have to have some type of permit.
Or the owner. Sorry to interrupt,
right.
Damian.
Right, or the owner.
Right, I'm saying the proposed change would allow for, or no change, I don't know.
It doesn't sound like, I don't know what problem you're trying to fix, because it sounds like, so the owner, an owner could live in another town, and the operator, as long as they have a Wellfleet permit, is licensed to fish on the boat. Is that right? The operator of the boat?
Yeah.
Am I reading that correctly? Is that the
so
problem
if the
you're worried
owner
about?
if the owner of a boat wanted to have that boat fish in Wellfleet Harbor, the way the regulation is written, they'd have to home port their boat. That's a different part of the regs. 8.7. They'd have to home port their boat in Wellfleet, and then they would have somebody with a Wellfleet commercial permit operate it.
And you have to live in Wellfleet, have a commercial permit?
But they wouldn't have to live in Wellfleet.
The owner or operator.
Right. So as long as
one or the other one would have to.
Is domiciled.
Right.
The owner
if the operator, right.
So the owner could really move.
Hmm?
I'm thinking, so the owner could move. If you're worried about a large commercial boat, it sounds like he's going to want to, he's maybe been in Wellfleet Harbor for a long time, and that's where, and he decides he wants to move to another town, but as long as the operator of the boat is domiciled in Wellfleet, he's still good. And is he allowed to keep that slip, if you know what I mean? Is he allowed to keep
I don't get into
there?
Slips.
Yeah.
I don't get into slips.
Well, I would suggest if you have a change in the language for that particular reg, propose it. I don't see a problem right now.
So was the problem that it would potentially be difficult to enforce if the owner was the one that had the permit and the operator was the one who was doing something underhanded? Does it not work like with shellfish grants that whoever's working for you has to follow the rules the same way you do, or it's your problem? Like, wouldn't a problem with the operator fall back on the owner if they're under the owner's permit?
Correct, right.
I would think so.
So again, I don't know what problem we're trying to solve here.
I think that
give me a situation that comes up.
I think that logic makes better sense.
Okay.
But I don't know that that logic was there to utilize at the time that it became an issue, or may have became an issue.
I mean, I could see a problem if there are, say, a lot of guys out of Gloucester who own big boats and they're hiring some Wellfleet guys to get a permit and fish out of Wellfleet. And then the profits aren't really going to the boat owners in town, they're going to boat owners out of town. But that doesn't seem to be happening. You know, like I wouldn't want to see like the Codfather having boats out of Wellfleet and, you know, using the locals, but I don't think that's going to change just because we got the harbor dredged. I know people are concerned, but.
You know, if as a resource manager, as the person and the department responsible for the sustainable management of our resources, and giving section 2 in the regulations, which is the purpose of the regulations. If you look on page 10, the last paragraph, it's talking about how, I'm just going to read it. It's one sentence. Because much of the area that is used for shellfishing and shellfish aquaculture is a precious natural resource that is owned by the town, and because best use of such intertidal land is made by those who are geographically present and personally accountable to the community, the granting of commercial permits and licenses for aquaculture is restricted to domiciled residents of Wellfleet. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in a perfect world, from my management perspective,
it would be fair.
The language in 8.6 would be owner and operator.
Okay.
Well, how about the draggers?
That's not the way the regulations are.
And then my response to that had been, what about all the non-domiciled workers on grants, and the fairness of understanding that operators are not like generic laborers, they're captains, they're hard to come by, and that I thought there was intent in the way the law was written.
Yeah, I'm not proposing to change it. I'm just saying where we would come from. It, you know, if
somebody still has to, yeah, somebody still has to be domiciled in Wellfleet in order to get a license for the boat, right?
You'd have to have, the way our regulations are, you have to have a commercially permitted person on the boat. It does not have to be the operator.
Okay. But you can only take the quota for the person who has the license, right?
Only the one license on board. Yep.
Right. So if there's one license on board, okay.
Yep.
So you can only take that quota. So as long as either the owner or the operator has that one quota for Wellfleet, am I understanding that right?
Well, if the owners, so say the owner is from Wellfleet, the owner is from Wellfleet and has a vessel. The operator is from Eastham and is running it for him. The guy from Eastham can't go out by himself. He has to have a crew with him that has a commercial Wellfleet shellfishing permit.
Okay.
In addition, really, if you want to know the truth, so that person has to be on the boat with a Wellfleet commercial permit in order to land it. And that person's permit or that landings of that boat get categorized to the owner, not to the commercial permit on the vessel. It goes because boats have to have their commercial permit tied to the vessel so that we capture our dragger boat landings. And that's really important because we have to protect the boat, the dragger fishery, because we're like one of the only ones that still has a year-round. I think we might be the only in the Commonwealth that has a year-round oyster dragger fishery, and we don't want to lose that.
Right.
So those landings have to get recorded. The tags have to be for that boat.
What about just a statement in the regulations that just says that the owner is the responsible party, not the other, or the other license holder, because that may be unclear, and it may be kind of in conflict too to have you know, you've got a license holder that's got to be there, and yet, you know, maybe taking orders from a captain.
Right. Is the license holder in a position
is
of
the
power
license
enough
holder
to...
responsible if there's
Right.
like infractions, you know?
Yeah. If I have the permit, but the boss tells me to do something wrong, what do I do? So,
Well, I mean, then you just educate them,
right,
that, you know, whoever's the permit holder is on that vessel is the person who's responsible. You have the permit, you know the regulations, or you've been provided with the regulations if you're a new permit holder. And if you're the person on the boat, if you know the captain can conduct the vessel, but if that person doesn't have a town of Wellfleet commercial fishing permit, then they're not in charge, basically, of like the person with the permit is. That's the person responsible. Whoever's on the boat with that permit is going to be responsible for the actions that have to do with the shell fishing business. And then if the boat owner is also commercially permitted, then the boat owner would be responsible. Now, if a boat owner was not, that's the part I just don't get about, you know, if you have a boat that's from out of town and they just change the home port to Wellfleet, you know, what would, you know, how do you hold an owner from somewhere else accountable for what happens in your harbor? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's right, Damien. Maybe we add that the owner is the responsible party as well as the permit holder on board. And then we might want to even say right in our regulations, the commercial product per state regulations needs to be sold under the boat permit. But then what if we have a boat from out of town? Yeah, then that it's getting tied to a boat from out of town instead of a boat. Like I imagine that the catch would still be from CCB 11, right? So it's still coming from Wellfleet, but you know, you're going to be selling it on the.
I could see that being a concern. Like if there was ever a big bay skull upset or something like that, now with the harbor dredge and easier access and, and it is unfortunately really easy to change your documentation or your vessel registration.
Absolutely. Multiple times a year, just change it back and forth wherever you're going to be fishing out of.
I like the part you were saying where we could clarify in the regulation who is the responsible party or parties in this case.
It's really got to be the boat owner. That's the way it is now, right? So well, tied to the boat makes sense.
Well, if it's not the owner, so if it's not the owner, if the owner doesn't have a permit, then the operator has to.
Right.
So, all right, but if
the operator doesn't have it, then the owner. So I guess you always have somebody, the owner or the operator would.
That's the way it reads, owner or operator.
Well, that's a good point. So it has to be the operator, so it can't just be a crew member who's got the permit.
Right. If the owner's from out of town, then the operator
has to have
a permit.
I got a little piece of advice from my own personal history. I utilized this clause when Andy was warden and didn't inform him, and we butted head for a second on it. And maybe there should be something that, like, an out-of-town boat must notify the shellfish department prior to having, you know.
Yeah, who's your designated person with the permit?
Exactly, that there just needs to be notice of the, you know.
That would be polite, yeah.
Yeah. I apparently wasn't polite and I should have been.
Whoops. Who knew? Right.
Well, yeah, even, but you were permanent, Damien. So why? I mean, you have to let the harbor master know, right? When you're bringing a boat into town.
Yeah, I was permitted, and it was a residence boat, but the resident boat owner did not have a shellfish license.
Okay, but you as the operator did.
I, as the operator, did, and the boat was documented as being a Wellfleet boat, although it did not moor there. And it was not from, it wasn't a typical Wellfleet boat. It's going back a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure where to go with this.
I'm all for listening for an addition to, change in the regulations, if that's what's in order. But I would need to hear it before we could make a motion on it.
Go ahead, Becca. Sorry for interrupting.
Wondering if we're hearing anything from other owners or operators about their opinions on how this is working and what they have to say about this.
We're not. And
we're
so,
not. Okay.
And I'm not saying that Damien doesn't have a good point. I mean, I find these regulations kind of confusing myself, right? And I have to enforce on them. But maybe what we should, if we're going to, I think we should try and get people in the room that care about it, and not propose anything until we have a bigger community discussion, honestly.
Okay.
I did not get a crier out about this in time. I just, being pulled in a million different directions. So I did send out text messages and emails, but not until today.
And this is something that's come up before and people didn't turn up for really either. So Damien, thank you for bringing this. Like, I'm not trying to invalidate what you're saying. I don't feel like I know enough about the opinions or about what's going on to know which way to go with this.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that rarely comes up, and I think I only put it up because it had seemed urgent at the time, and I just didn't want it to slip away. It was just came to my mind.
Thanks for keeping it in our radar here.
Yeah. So it's okay if somebody from out of town home ports their vessel here and then has a Wellfleet permitted captain operating it.
Even if the guy doesn't live in Wellfleet anymore, right?
The owner of the vessel.
The owner of the vessel.
Then you've got an operator on board with a permit. If you are a Wellfleet owner, you have to have a license on board if you choose to have somebody who is not from Wellfleet operate your boat.
Okay.
Is that what that says?
This is what this is what our regs currently say.
Okay, so if you're the owner and you are a Wellfleet resident and you have the license, you still need somebody on the boat who's got one.
If the owner is not going to be operating the boat, then the operator has to have a permit.
Somebody actually riding in the boat at the time that the boat's out has to have a commercial permit, is what you're saying.
If the owner does not have a commercial permit,
I'm saying if the owner
operator
has one,
must.
Right, but if the owner has one and they live in Wellfleet and they have the license and they're at home, does anybody on the boat at the time need to have a license?
Yes, even if the operator is not from Wellfleet, then they have to have a crew member. How could you land shellfish without a permit?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So somebody has to be from Wellfleet in the boat, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that, I guess.
So where does it say that?
Owner or operator of the vessel.
Okay.
Usually what would happen is there would be an aggrieved party that will come before our board or the town directly, just saying, what's up? You know, I got a problem here. I can't believe you're telling me this. Correct? I mean, is that what we're, I mean,
No, I think what would happen is something would happen on the water and we get called in to enforce on it.
to
Right.
figure out what's up. Well, like I said, if there's a problem that can be solved and somebody's got a way to solve it, I'm all ears, but I haven't heard it yet.
I'm reviewing the stuff that you sent this afternoon with the conversations from October of 2020. I'm trying to see if there's anything in here.
I mean, actually, Damien's idea would bring money to the town because he'd be selling a permit to somebody for like a specific period of time. If you were going to be an operator from out of town, and you'd have to get a special permit. So that's something that I'll probably have to bring to the town administrator because he's looking for any way for the town to make some more money. But I'll come back to you guys first. Okay. But that might be actually, you know, for a specific period of time, maybe it's like Damien was saying, a hardship. And maybe that's the only way that a non-resident person can operate a boat. Just something to think about.
That doesn't address out-of-town boats utilizing a resident licensed captain, or even utilizing an out-of-town boat, using even an out-of-town boat owner just utilizing a resident shellfish permit holder. You know, say Eastham fishermen, you know.
Yeah, they just get a crew. They get a crew. Yeah, they just put a crew on board and they start fishing in Wellfleet Harbor.
Yeah.
That's the way our regulations are written right now.
Yeah.
That's the way I read, like our regulations are written like that.
Which in some cases may be fair and may create jobs and help Wellfleet resident, but in another case, it could really hinder it. It kind of is very situational. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, because the resources of the town, right, it's finite.
Well, we can set this aside and discuss it again after we've thought about it for a while. It doesn't have to go anywhere tonight.
Yeah, Damien, if you want to, you know, brainstorm about it a little bit more, I'm happy to do that. I think we all want both jobs and sustainability.
Yeah, I'll definitely mull it over some more. And it doesn't seem urgent right now, you know.
Okay. It'll only be urgent when something happens that people don't approve of at the pier.
Right. And I remember there being a discussion about how hard it is to find operators, and that if we prohibit people from out of town being operators, then we're going to be causing problems for in-town boat owners who, for whatever reason, aren't running their own boats. We wouldn't want to do that either. So, all right. Does anyone want to continue this discussion right now, or shall we save it for later? All right, hearing no complaints, so we're gonna save it for later. All right. So moving right along, I think we are now up to the Shellfish Department updates.
Okay. Did everybody get a copy of my budget?
I didn't notice it.
I sent it a while ago.
Okay, good, because I got like copies of everything else.
Let me see. Maybe I can call it up here. Hold on.
Either that or I can try and fish through my emails, and I tried to have everything available.
Bear with me. I'm just going to get everything ready.
Sure. Thank you.
And basically what I'm looking for is actually a vote of approval that you, again, for the town meeting warrant. They're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be separated out though. But it is helpful to know if you guys support or not.
Okay.
Okay. So what else was I just going to say? Sorry, I'm navigating here. Okay, now share screen. Okay, can you see this?
I got a black screen so far. There it is.
Okay. All right, so first of all, let me say that Finance Committee voted to recommend everything. The capital improvement projects, the two capital improvement projects that I have here, our operating budget, our propagation budget, and our additional budget request, which is for a part-time administrative assistant in the winter months. Mm-hmm. And the select board did the same. They want me to look into making sure that the part-time seasonal winter season isn't going to require benefits. So I have to work with Mary McIsaac on that.
So we want to hire people, but we don't want to give them a living wage. We don't want to give them health insurance. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, actually, one of the select board members, Janet Reinhardt, actually did say, like, we really need to be thinking about offering good jobs with benefits. Yeah. But I need to explore that for the select board, and I'll come back to them. But at any rate, they voted yes. So the first thing is that our office building is in dire need of repairs. It basically rains inside. So that is a $42,000 repair, which we will split with the beach department. And this revenue does not come out of taxpayer dollars. It comes out of shellfish permit sales because and aquaculture license fees. So the shellfish department collects money for permits and aquaculture grant fees every year. 75% goes into our revolving fund for propagation. That can only fund propagation. 25% remains for us to spend. So this $21,000 is coming from the 25%. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we can ask questions. I think you'll probably need to do 4 motions, but just so that you get the big picture before you start piecemealing it, I think it's only fair.
Okay. Is there
so
anything
we need
controversial? I'm sorry, Becca, can I get to
yes.
Is there anything controversial about this one right here with anybody?
No,
right.
We got to take care of our office buildings.
Yeah, no. And just so I understand, what you're asking for dollar-wise is already paid for? It's already been being collected?
Well, it's already collected by the town. It's already been collected by the town from fees. It's not going to come out of taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
And that was the money to fix the building.
And is that going to be the same for all 4 of these?
No.
Okay.
I'll explain it as we go for each of the things. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the second one is a truck. We worked with the DPW. They think that given the use that we have and our responsibilities on the flats to tow people out, and to be able to have a good functioning truck. They want us to replace them every 5 years. They do a lot of the work on our trucks, so I'm trusting them. They know what they look like after 5 years.
Yeah.
And so that is $30,000. I hope we can get a truck. I haven't even gotten the truck that was approved last year because they don't have any in inventory, but I gotta try. So we were supposed to be replacing the 2016 truck this fiscal year, and then the 2018 truck next fiscal year, which begins July 1st.
Okay.
So
does that money stay separate so that when a truck becomes available, that money that's already been pre-approved goes to it? Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. It can only be spent for that purpose once it's gone through town meeting.
Okay.
Then I'm going to come over to my regular budget. Can you see all of it? Let me just see if I can make this. All right. How's that? Okay. So basically in our personnel line, the only thing that changes is, salaries increase each year as part of our contracts. Nothing else changed here. Also longevity changes because every year the longevity goes up $100.
Okay.
Look at how long Johnny and Chris have been with the department. 22 years for Chris and 17 for Johnny. It's amazing. Wow. For my operating expenses, for our operating expenses, we have no changes. We're just flatlining it. For propagation, so the budget request is actually $6,000 because yes, we're asking for 46 is what our operating expenses will be for propagation, but we will be getting $40,000 from the revolving fund. So it really it goes down to 6. And so this is flatline too. It's been the same for a number of years now. And then the additional budget request, I'll start with the simple one. The telephone is because when the seasonal deputies come on, we basically, they use their phones for work. And we look up license plate numbers on our phones so that we know whether somebody is a recreational shellfisherman or not, if we can't get to that area, or we're just on first patrol and then to go back. And they use it with us all the time. So the town allows a $25 reimbursement per month. So I budgeted that for the months that those 2 people are working. So that's $300. And then this was what I hoped you would have had time to read about part-time personnel to the tune of $17,075. And this is just, it's really hard to keep up with all the paperwork that's required. And things fall through the cracks now. We can't do everything. And, we all try really hard, but some things don't, they just don't get done. You can't do it all. And I can't spend all of my time in the office because I'm not going to learn anything. I'm not going to hear anything. I'm not going to solve any problems inside 4 walls. That happens out on the flats. And so, I could totally spend all my time in the office. I mean, I did when I was on medical leave. That's all I did. But it's not sustainable to be so removed from what's going on. I have to be out there and understand, how things are going. I have to see it with my own eyes and hear it with my own ears. So it would be great to have somebody help me with that. I don't know whether you guys noticed, but we did not submit 1 monthly report in 2021. Just didn't happen. I don't have the time anymore. There's so many bigger fish to fry. I put together a rationale in there if you want to read that, but both the finance committee and the select board did approve this. So I would appreciate your support as well.
Would this part-time person also be looking for state and federal grant money to assist with programs out here? What is their job? Just filing our paperwork?
It's just helping do all the communications that we do, all of our responsibilities for paperwork with the state, all the responsibilities of paperwork for all the grants. Like Jordan, she totally helped write the grant that got us the money for the COVID, the $40,000. Was it 40? No, it was 30. Now I'm forgetting how much it was. I'm trying to do the math in my head, but she helped write that grant that when we bought all those oysters around the holidays, we bought oysters and were able to pay farmers for their surpluses. So she did help do that, and she will help do the reporting because she'll be back in May to help with that reporting. The reports are due in the end of June. So it's great to have somebody like her. So certainly, she can help out, or whoever we end up hiring can help out. If Jordan decides to stay on, it's a smooth transition. If she decides to go elsewhere and look for another job, then we'll be hiring for that position.
Okay. Are we offering a competitive wage?
Just what's been approved by the select board, which I want to say is $25 an hour. Hold on, let me look it up.
I think it's there. Yes.
25 hours a week at $25 an hour.
Okay. Since it's indoor work, will it be on a schedule, or are you expecting these people to have a second job around a tide during the winter?
That's a really good point. It probably won't be on a, I think that it probably won't be on a tide schedule.
Okay.
Because there's the three of us that can do that.
Okay. I'm just
that
trying
said,
to imagine
this is going to be a deputy. So
okay.
She will, or he will be able to, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because if you only have a part-time job, you're going to have to fill that time with something else.
Yeah.
So maybe they work, 9 to 5, 9 to whatever it is. And,
right.
And then sometimes that is going to happen during low tide, because of course you want somebody to get out there and get a feel of the, the shell fishery and the people that we work with. But that's a really good point, that that would not be. And Jordan, when I was out on medical leave, she did not work the tide. She was at the computer. So it worked really well.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
So maybe we would go through and you would do motions to approve or recommend, or for the budget 179 and 80, and then we'd go through and do the 4 tabs that you see up there.
Okay.
How many recommendations are you looking for, Nance?
Well, there are 4 separate things. There's the 2 what are called capital improvement projects, which is the beach office repairs and the truck. Yep. And then there's our budget 179 and 180. And the additional, you probably should do those separately, because they are 2 separate line items in the budget, and then the additional budget request.
So the beach office repairs on the truck we have not voted on yet, and we should get those out of the way, right?
Whichever way you guys want to do it, just let me know and I'll click on that.
Trying to figure out how we're going to do it.
All right, and that was so the capital improvements is the office and the truck, and then it was 79 and 80. Are those
179 and 180.
179, 180. Okay. And that was all 4 parts? The office, the truck, 79 and 80. Okay. John, do you want to start on
the additional budget request for the part-time?
Additional budget request. Okay. All right, so who wants to start making motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve, that we recommend the capital request for the boathouse repairs and the new truck as requested.
I think you should do them separately, John.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the repairs to the boathouse as requested.
Okay, I'll second that, unless anybody else wants to. And can I get a vote, please?
Yes.
All right, that's Damien.
Yes.
That's Stephen. John.
Yes.
And me, yes. So that's 4-0 to approve. All right. Next motion.
I will make a motion to approve the request for a new truck.
Okay, we'll second it. All in favor?
Yes.
That's John, yes.
Damien, yes.
Stephen, yes.
All right, and me, yes. So that's also 4-0. That's for the truck. All right. So 179 and 180 should be separate?
Yes.
Okay. John, you want to keep going on your roll here? Or does Damien or Stephen want to?
Somebody can
try a
take
hand
up the
at it?
slack and say what we were voting for. That would be appreciated.
All right. So should we vote to recommend 179? How is it? Is it line item 179 or just 179? Budget request, yeah, 179.
I don't know.
Okay. So a vote to support budget request 179. Did I phrase that right? Anybody want to second it?
Stephen, I'll second it.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Yes, John.
Okay.
Yes, Damien.
Yes, Stephen.
And yes, Becca. All right. We're all in support of 179. All right. And same thing with 180, which is right there. Okay. So we're going to vote to support number 180, conservation and propagation funding. Do I have a second? Oh, you guys want to mark it?
Stephen, I'll second it.
Thank you. And a vote. All in favor?
Yes, John.
That was John. Damien, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
And a vote. All right, Stephen?
Stephen, yes.
All right, and me, yes. All right, so we're 4-0. And that should be the office, the truck, 179 and 180. So there's all four of them, and we voted to support all of them.
And then there's the additional budget request, which is up on your screen.
Okay, and that is called addition. What's the title? Is it just additional budget request?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Shellfish Department. Oh, it's 179 Shellfish Department additional budget request.
Okay, so there's 179 and 179 additional?
Yeah. So okay. 179 you already did, and now the additional budget request, because this money would get put into 179.
Okay. So a vote to recommend 179 additional request. Anybody second?
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
John, yes. Damon, yes.
Stephen, I.
Thank you. And me. So that is 4 of us in support. Okay. All right. We got all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to pull up. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the support. Now, I would like to show you, bear with me. So I'm just going to talk while I look for this file. Did I call it up? Maybe I did already. No. On Monday, the state is going to come and do water quality testing around the harbor, including CCV 12, which is the Herring River. And if we get good water quality back, then we will open it. Then the select board they're going to come do water quality on Monday. On Tuesday, the select board is going to vote to open the Herring River on Wednesday. If we get our good water quality back, then it will open on Wednesday. If we don't, then the motion for the select board says, or whenever Mass DMF certifies it to open. And then I will let everybody know via a crier or via the DMF notice that goes out. So we're hoping for a Wednesday, the 16th, opening of the Herring River.
Okay.
Now I have found this. So there's a couple of, hold on one second. I'm just trying to make this not too big so that you can actually see what's going on. Okay, hopefully this is pretty good. So a couple things. Share screen. If you've been following the HILTA discussions at the select board meeting, you're aware that the select board approved trying to create one new grant out there on Field Point. So Johnny and I walked to the bottom with the harbor master and we mapped out a couple of options, some of which won't work. And I just wanted to show you just so you see what won't work. And then some of which could work. And then some of our rationale I wanted to talk about. Where are my notes? Rationale on the choice that the Shellfish Department is making. So can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of a close up to an area, which is a slot kind of between what used to be Chuck Reeves grant on the left. This picture is from when that grant was operational, and now it's Robert Emmett's grant. And then over here is David Payne. So the regulations state that grants have to be located. There has to be a 25-foot buffer between grants. So this is a 25-foot buffer here. In addition, this parcel has this river. And it's not like a deep river, but it is a river which over time you can see it moving back and forth. It's just, you know, I'm using these pictures as a point of information, but when we walked to the bottom is when we decided where we thought we could create a grant where somebody would be successful. Mm-hmm. So this would be with the 25-foot boundary. It lines up with the offshore. Sorry, I don't know what I did. It lines up with the offshore buoys here. So it's no closer to the channel than anybody, any other grant out there. And it's 0.26 acres. So then we thought, well, that's not really an awful lot of bottom. So we came here and we looked at if we went up and kind of took advantage, even though this is kind of crossing through it with this 25-foot buffer. fortunately or unfortunately, there's a very large wild oyster bar here. So if we incorporated that and the state came out, they would never license any of the area. So I think we did one other, yeah, we thought, but it gave us, you know, a half an acre. So then this was just, what if we didn't have the 25-foot buffer, but it doesn't matter because you've got this wild oyster bar there.
And a moving river
so
running through the middle of it.
Yeah, yeah. So we did this here, which was, we call it the Nevada. It's looks like the state of Nevada upside down, which, you know, you try and, this isn't, because the river changes and because, you know, Google Earth isn't the end all be all. Like right now, this line actually excludes the river, but it doesn't mean that, you know, because it changes every year. So who knows? But this would have given 0.48 acres. And then we came down to this, which was kind of trying to stay away from the river as much as possible. And, but maybe lose this, ask the neighbor, would it be okay to directly align like many other grants align and share a boundary? And this would give somebody 0.33 acres. So a third of an acre. We know it's not a lot. The Shellfish Department feels like this is the scenario that would set somebody up for success, get them out there farming, let them see what the bottom looks like every day. I mean, I can go out there and walk it a lot of different times, but it's nothing like being out there every day and seeing how the bottom is behaving and how when you put aquaculture gear out there, how it's behaving. We thought that the Nevada scenario, by including more bottom, it might make minimum productivity harder to achieve. And we thought maybe just let somebody get out there and see how things are. And then they could always come in and request an extension for the area that they think is going to be the best once they get out there and they kind of figure things out. We want them to be successful. We want them to have bottom that will actually work. And we're just unsure until somebody gets out there and gets going. So this is the proposal that we would make to the select board, but we wanted to bring it to you first. And then the other thing that we were thinking is for the town to take this to Conservation Commission first.
That was going to be my question.
Do is give somebody, you know, a headache where they're going to go and start to get all these approvals. And if CONSCOM wouldn't approve it, that would be a waste of their time. So that was my other suggestion that I was going to bring to you guys for your consideration. And just let me know if you want me to flip back and forth between the maps. But that's, so that's that. There's a little second part that I'll add on, but why don't I just, that was a lot of information. So let me see if you guys have any questions or things that you want to share back to me.
Yeah, I'll ask them, Becca, if I could. So assuming that somebody says, yes, they're going to go ahead and do this, and then the Conservation Commission says yes to it, somebody's going to pay for a survey to get those points established. Is that right?
Correct.
And would that become a permanent marker out there? That would be like a buoy that would be nothing to do with global positioning. It would actually be done by a surveyor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
With rebar stakes.
Right.
I don't know if they use rebar or what.
Whatever they're using to be
we're
permanent.
working with.
Good. Okay.
I would love to know what Conservation Commission has to say about putting a grant overlapping a river. I mean, I get that. I get that it's a tidal flood area.
I know. I would worry that some damage would be done, and what happens if you were wrong, and we had to say no 5 years down the road.
Right. Like, I really want to see somebody get a grant. I understand the need for it. It's just, this was an area that everybody over there said it's not a great spot to try to put gear because everything shifts so much. And then if you've got cold, fresh water coming down, or even more fresh than brackish, it's going to freeze and you're going to have problems with, like, I don't know, anything that's left there over the winter would freeze in the fresh water and not in the slush. And is that a road going through it that people are using? Or was that just that day the picture was done?
No, I mean, people do, people act, because nothing's there, people have used it for access.
Right.
It's not a road, it's just 2 tire tracks. Yeah.
Okay, but yes, it's not like it is the access point for the whole region.
No.
Thing. Okay.
No, it's not. No.
Okay. It would be nice if the river would stay in one place and then we could, like, cut in and make, like, a longer, narrow thing, but it's not going to do that.
Right. You know, we have real concerns about this.
Yeah.
Ourselves. I too wonder, like, they developed the entire parcel. I don't,
except for this,
I don't,
like, for a reason.
Why there was a reason why I have not had time to go and kind of look into the files to see whether something was discussed about this. One of the
okay.
And I have we've kind of come up with another option if but I want to hear people's, I don't know whether Damien and Stephen have any feedback or question.
Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
No, not really. I think it's a weird scenario that, I mean, generally it's been established by someone who wanted the bottom. This is a little kind of different.
Say that again, Damien.
You're on mute again, Damien. All right.
Am I on now or no?
You are.
Yeah, I didn't, it really wasn't saying much. I just said it's a kind of an odd scenario that generally, you know, a grant has been established by someone who is, you know, surveyed and wanted the bottom, a fisherman or a prospect that wanted the bottom. This is a little different, and I don't really have much of an opinion on it. Sorry.
That's a good point, because usually somebody spent time out there and said, this is going to be good. You know, nobody has. Nobody's come in all these years.
Which might say something about the area.
Damien. I'm going to write that down, actually. That was a good point.
Becca, I would say for you, why is this up for discussion? What prompted the Shellfish Department to look into this?
The select board wanted us to try and create one more grant out here, and then just thought that this was good because, you know, on paper things look good, and they certainly bear looking into and walking the bottom and evaluating.
I specifically remember that we had a whole conversation about that, about how it looked great on paper, but the people who are actually farming over there said all of the good area has already been taken and there really isn't much that would set somebody up for success over there. So I kind of want to see what other spot you found.
Okay, I don't have a map of that. Yeah, I can find a map of that. So bear with me while I do that.
Okay.
Becca,
yes.
Through you to Nancy, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
The vehicle tracks, how many people use them?
Say that again?
The vehicle tracks that was shown on that map?
Hear you, Steve.
The vehicle tracks shown on the map. How many
thank you, sorry. Yep.
How many people use it?
I don't really know. I think at least 2, 3. I can think of 3 people that I know of that use it out there.
Okay. My question is it going to cause a conflict if this person puts racks in that area and they can't keep accessing through it?
Well, these people have other accesses from up top. This is kind of like a little shortcut to get to the areas near the channel, but they have absolute access, and often access from the upper area near the marsh.
Okay,
that's where the main road is.
A conflict with the access across it. That's all.
Yep, it's a good point. Okay, hold on. Rotate clockwise. Okay. Okay, hold on. All right. Thanks for bearing with me as I figure this stuff out. Okay, share screen. So here we are in North Wellfleet. It's not in the Hilta area. There was one other area.
Okay.
I'll show you that too.
We're in North Wellfleet.
Let me go there first. Hold on. Let me try. Oops. Let me. Ooh, how do I want this? Hold on. Okay. So again, you know, on paper, things look one way. So come down here. So here's the area that we were looking at just now. There is a small area here. It would only be a half an acre right here. But and there is this grant out here, but the harbor master really felt like he just didn't want more gear in this kind of congested area. So we dropped it. It would be a nice little half acre here, but you know, with everything that's, yeah, I'm just taking my guidance from the harbor master. When he says yes, then I proceed forward. When he's uncomfortable, we have other things that we can look at. And here's the other thing. So as we were doing some research, this is Powers Landing here. Wait, Powers Landing is here, right? Yeah, Powers Landing is right here. So as you come straight across the Egg Island Channel and go out, this grant right here is not leased to anybody at all. You have clam farming predominantly on this side, and you have oyster farming on this side predominantly. It would be a grant that would take a little bit of infrastructure because you probably would need some sort of a boat to get out here. It's a long walk out to this area here, but these are all very productive farms, all in here, all clam bottom. And over here, it's just, well, these are very productive here.
Which numbers are we talking about?
9516.
95. Okay, so that's down. Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, so that's down by the no drag line. Am I looking at the right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And how large is that?
It is 1 acre, 0.92. And this we could put up for lottery, which we are basically required to do.
As far as productivity goes, that seems like a really great location. I mean, I don't actually know anything about the land out there, but it seems like, as you're saying, the quahogs and oysters are growing well out there. Who would be the neighbors?
Picard's right here. And this is Zach Renner. No, this is Will Berrio and Mike Sizer. This is Zach Renner. These are the Dalbys, Zimba.
Okay.
Merle, Storer. So I'm just offering it up as, you know, I'm looking really for your feedback on what's going on in the Hilta parcel. And I just, you know, I just want to say that there is something else, but I also need to and want to follow the select board, you know, guidance they would like us to find. And maybe it'll be fine because maybe we find this, but there's a little bit of hesitation in the department. I think we could make it work with a 0.33 acres if you want me to go back over to that. But this is, you know, the big picture scenario. This one will be put up for lottery either way.
Okay. Do we know why this one hasn't been claimed at this point? Does it have a feature, the land that's like the other one that's not conducive to farming?
No. It got lost in paperwork. It was supposed to be, it was part of, it was this grant here, 9515. It's interesting because the way that their original lease was, if they, after I forget how many years it was, they wanted to expand, they were going to have the right to expand. But if they didn't exercise that right within the first couple of years or whatever it was, then it reverted back. But I didn't, you know.
Before your time. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't, yeah, so it's just been there.
Okay. So I can't see anybody else on the board. So if anybody has something they want to say, let me know.
You want me to stop screen sharing? So you can have a discussion. I can always come back if you want.
Are we all comfortable?
I was going to ask if there's ever a conflict in the area with the no drag line and draggers there.
Not if we can help it. I would say no. Would you agree, Stephen? You guys are out there.
I'll agree at this point. There has been some issues prior, but that was a longer time ago.
Okay. Are we all comfortable that we know where on this map we're talking about? Should we have her unscreen share at this point?
I'm just going to do it. It's easier to look at people.
Yeah,
I don't know who's Kirta phone.
Yes, there's somebody new. Could you please identify yourself? We've got a K1RTA.
Oh, yeah, this is Russ Apgar.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Are you here for a particular discussion or?
No, I was going to check in the meeting earlier, but
okay.
I forgot all about it. So I'm just listening in right now. I'm actually Island grant holders anyways, so.
Okay.
He's not too far away from that.
Okay. So, so what do we know about this piece of land?
It's a deep water grant. It will come out on a pretty high negative. Okay. I've walked it a lot. You know, it is deep, so it will be challenging.
Okay. And
but other people are making things work out there.
What were the size differences again on the two pieces that we're looking at?
One is almost a full acre and the other is a third of an acre.
Okay. Does the wild productivity of the piece on Egg Island, does that look like something that maybe the state would be okay with as opposed to where the other one is?
They'd have to come and do a survey, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
walking that bottom, I really don't see like the concentrations that I think would be the threshold for the state. I'm not digging clams out there.
Right.
But
it's not like the oysters are washing off the others.
Even though, yeah, and actually I don't actually know if it would need to be resurveyed. I'll have to look into that. I didn't think about that actually. Okay. I know I just said it. But this is not a new grant. But it has been fallow for a very long time.
Okay, so we would need to look into that.
And it doesn't really exist. There's no lease for it. So I think we might actually have to be, I'm sorry, it is so, there's so much. You know, we might need to start from scratch there, just like we would at the other one, and have a biological survey.
Team, if we got any ideas here, any thoughts on this?
I think that seems to be the better choice of bottom for sure.
It really does. It just, the pros and cons of being able to drive out to the other one versus needing probably a boat to access this one, which wouldn't necessarily be that much of a hardship, I would imagine. You could get out there with a small skiff, right? To get started at least. I mean, I can't say that I've ever tried to get out there, so I don't know for sure. Stephen, you get out there. What do you think? Small boat?
Big boat.
Big boat, okay.
I've been sunk before, so it's a big investment.
Okay.
And the price of boats right now, it ain't going to be cheap.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing that is on my mind, is that it may limit who could seek to succeed there, but on the other hand, it may make or break this, you know, the actual succeeding there, you know, succeeding with a new grant, you know.
There's other people.
Well, you have three.
Oh, Stephen was talking.
There's other people in the area that have had a hard time around that area because of the boat access part of it. So I think it's going to take a person who's very devoted to what they want to do with it to make it work.
Okay.
That's all I'm
Definitely.
Okay.
What else was I just going to say? Oh, the first 3 years, people have to just demonstrate either through gear purchasing or seed purchasing that they would be making $1,000 worth of investment a year out there.
So that would
give
them
not really tied
to
that
to getting a boat
minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're not. You know, minimum productivity in terms of sales doesn't begin until year 4. So that might help. But it's going to take more capital to make it easier out there.
Okay. Thinking back to
Would you guys want to weigh in with any sort of advice for the select board on this, on the Hilta one?
I kind of want to know more about that sort of triangle one that could kind of be wedged in on the deep end there by the channel. Like what's going on with those?
I'm not willing to do that if the harbor master's saying no.
Right.
I'm not.
Okay.
I just trust his judgment, and it's already, that happens to be at the congestion point between Old Wharf grants and the Field Point grants. That's where it's the
What's going on with that Field Point grant that looks like it's sticking way out? Is that actually there?
Oh, wait, let me look.
Yeah, you got that map again.
Wait, are you looking on, wait a minute.
The Hatilda map that you had up first.
Okay, yeah, no, that's wrong. In fact, we're getting the maps redone. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so you're talking about this one?
Nope, it's not up yet.
Okay.
You can get there.
There we go.
There it is. Okay. Yes, the one where your cursor is.
So this grant, right. So this diagonal line continues straight like that.
Okay.
And that was something that Andy did. And he said, you know, you can't. So that's lopped off. But you see the proximity, you know,
right. But that pinch point isn't as bad as it looks. Because having something with that sort of pie wedge shape on the other side under 2008-02, like starting narrow there and extending towards...
No, that's not, 2008-02 is actually right at the edge of the channel.
Oh, okay. Again, paper map.
Yep, right at the edge of the channel.
Doesn't look like land.
I know, it's true.
Because like, yeah, you could put in like a wedge, but okay, so that won't work. All right.
Yeah.
Well, as a recreational guy, I'd say whatever you're doing over in that area is working well for the rec guys. And as long as you're not going to do anything that's going to screw up the set over there for other people, that's your call. No, I'm not. I wouldn't know where to begin with propagation.
Right.
John, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear that last part of what you said. Which area were you referring to?
You're talking about the area. I'm talking about the area on Field Point, down below Field Point. Show it on your cursor again. Roll over it. You're talking about right where it intersects. You may be blocked out by this screen setup I've got here. I think you might be just off my screen. Point to the parcel you're talking about. Yeah. See it? I'm off the screen.
I can't.
You're talking about this little rectangular one right here?
Yeah, that rectangle one, 14-1. Can you see that, John?
No, it's off the screen.
I can't even see it.
It's right off. It's off my. This thing's in the way, and I just can't. Let me just see if I can get this out of here.
How do I make this bigger? I can't see.
I'm looking at the laptop. I'm playing with my laptop, but I'm looking at a big screen. So between the two of them, I can't see what we're talking about. My only comment was that the recreational fishing over in the area is good. As a recreational guy, I really don't have a dog in this fight. So if whatever you're doing over there is you're doing a good job, as long as it's not going to, having something new over there is going to get in the way of it.
Right.
So,
Nancy. Oh, sorry, John. All right. Way over sort of mid-screen and left, there's 01-02 extension. And there's like space up beach from that. What's going on? That's
another grant that, so what I'm finding is that there's a lot of, there's stuff that needs correcting.
Okay.
So the files, so this is actually a grant. This is actually a grant. I think it goes like this. It's already a grant and all the paperwork was turned in and it just didn't ever get put on the map.
Okay. And above 2000-7, that little space, that's probably something too.
That is pretty high up. And, the whole thing about this is Shea.
Okay.
This is Mike DeVasto.
Okay.
So this area is out of the water for a very, very long time.
Okay.
And so that's why they've both had their extensions down here.
Down into the water. Okay.
So again, I don't want to set somebody up for failure.
Exactly.
In an area that nobody's
cook their shellfish. Well, we need to find a species that we can cultivate that doesn't mind being out of the water longer. Yeah. Maybe there's some kind of seaweed or something. All right.
What are the spaces between O'Connell and the And the other one further north.
That is not, I'm going to turn this on because this actually is a much better way to look at stuff than those stupid maps. So bear with me a minute. This will take a second.
Okay.
That has been put aside for boat, kayak access because there's a mooring area in there.
Okay. And just to let you know, we're coming up on our 2-hour mark, so I'd like to end this soon.
Let's see. This is a low tide. Let's see. Bear with me. It takes a minute. But... Oh, damn it. Sorry. Ah! Sorry.
It's the ponds.
Sorry. Oh my God.
Can we do anything to improve internet at the beach?
All right, let's see what we got here. Wait, is that the right area? Hold on, sorry. Indian Neck, thank you. I had to reorient myself. Okay, so now let me see if I can find.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find one that shows some. All right, here, this is great.
Yeah, that's got some river going through 17.
So here we have, this is the area with the river.
Yep.
This is the river. And just see how close we are to the channel here.
Okay, yeah.
This would be really close to the channel. Mm-hmm. Then you have it coming down here. This is kind of the center of the channel here. So then, Stephen, I think you were asking about, were you asking about this slot here by Jim O'Connell?
Yeah, now I understand. It's right off of the Fox Island Landing.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to be left alone.
Exactly.
Yep.
And there's
the access for those people to get in.
Left alone and the select board.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Now let me come out. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these, you know, this is such, look at this, it's such upland even here and here. It's like, this is like the driveway for everybody coming out is right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe there's 4 people that sometimes cut across like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they can all go like this.
Right.
And they can all go like that. It's not prohibiting any access whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. It's just, you know, there's just not a lot, honestly.
Nope. Which is exactly what we said when we gave our recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. And, okay, so this you're not seeing, but let me come in just a tiny little bit more here. Oh, why did I do that? Wait, I'm just going to show you. Here's this, where that got cut off.
Okay.
But it's still.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that looks like a pretty active corner there, Grant, too. All right. Yeah, like across from where the blue is over there, like that diagonal triangle there. It's like the ideal spot, but if it's too close to the channel, then
yeah.
mm-hmm.
So I guess do you want to talk about making a recommendation to the select board? Do you know, or you support the shellfish department? I don't know. I'm not trying to put any words in anybody's mouth. I just felt like I should bring it to you guys first.
I wish I remembered the wording of our recommendation a little bit better off the top of my head. It doesn't look like any of these are particularly good locations. If I were to make a recommendation, it would be check with the Conservation Commission about their opinion around that river before we go any further suggesting that. And personally, I like the one over on Egg Island better as a place for someone to actually make a good farm space. But I don't know, how does the rest of the team feel? We could also choose to not make an opinion about this tonight, and we can try again next month if it's still relevant. I mean, having Zach and Tom here to bounce opinions around might be good too. Or maybe by next month, you'll have already turned in the paperwork and it won't matter anymore. I know we're all super tired. So Damien, do you have an opinion? John, Stephen?
I'm trying to think of having a grant with a, you know, a pretty big spring upwelling right there.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's going to be pretty hard.
I mean, I want to see somebody have another farm, but that looks like a terrible location with that river in the half of it.
Yeah, I'm not big on that location either.
Okay. Stephen?
I don't think we should set somebody up for failure if it's not a good location. You know, it's
okay.
What could happen? In other words, you can get them there, get them all set up, and then they find out that the river is very detrimental to them.
They're out a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do we want to go so far as to recommend against it, or do we just want to leave our opinion?
I think if some of us had some time to walk out there and see what we see of it.
Okay.
People that have grown product, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, and maybe give another opinion at the next meeting.
Nancy, what's your timeline like?
It's hard to know. There's like a whole MIPA process going on now for moving the 5 deep water grants in. So on the one hand, I feel like a sense of urgency, but on the other, none of this stuff is moving fast anyway. Competing demands on my time. You know, I just am doing my best to try and move everything forward, but it's not always streamlined. So I'm not going to say that there's some urgency to it, especially if we're going to go do the other one.
Okay, yeah. So if we put this as the first thing on our next agenda with a star next to it for importance, and we all try to get over there and have a look. I remember Barbara.
I'd be happy to bring somebody out.
Okay. I remember Barbara Austin had a strong opinion about the area and some of the other folks over there. Maybe they want to come and voice their opinion at the next meeting specific to that location.
I'll go the bones.
So does anybody have a different opinion? Do you want to anybody want to make a motion on anything, or should we just put this on next month's agenda?
Yeah, I think we want to put on the next month's agenda.
Okay.
You know, the one on Egg Island.
Mhm.
There's some issues with that bottom too. I'd like to be able to give you a little more insight on it. The bottom 50 feet of it, the Heron River is changing its course after it goes by Old Saw. And it's starting to take the bottom corner of those grants off.
Ooh.
Where it's getting to the point where the water's running through it all the time. Because if Nancy could put the other map back up.
Yeah, I'm going to go like this, right across the harbor.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
It just takes a minute to populate. Let me see where I am.
In the ocean.
Hey, Becca,
yes.
Has anybody spoken up from the audience yet on this tonight?
I don't think anybody's
Is
left
anybody
with us.
out there with their hand raised or anything like that? No.
I think we're the only ones here.
There you go.
I see Mr. Apgar still, but everybody else.
Yeah, Russ. Sorry, Russ. I didn't mean to.
I think he's our only audience member.
Unless it's benefiting somebody not to comment on it, we might as well just push it off to the next meeting and see if anybody has a say.
All right, so that's 3 of us for the next meeting. Sounded like Damien was okay with it. All right, yep. So next meeting for that. All right, so then Egg Island is where we're looking.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were okay, sorry. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Here you go.
Okay. If I can explain a little bit about out there. If you go to parcel 2000 and if you see the dark color in 2005.
4, okay.
Okay. Then the bottom grant that sticks down below it to the east, that belongs to Morton.
This one, these 2, yep.
The bottom one of Morton's, that is the Heron River.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot walk out here. It's even Stephen's seen me out here many times.
And if you go more to the east, the next parcel that belongs to Jeffrey Picard, you can see the bottom end of the runways. Okay. You can see the dark runways of the clam runways. Okay.
Yep.
The bottom end of those all got washed off, 20 feet of it. So the halfway point on that lease right now is the Heron River thread right now. So if you go across that at the halfway point, going towards the east, that other lease has the same problem going across the bottom of it.
Okay.
You're not giving them a full acre. You're only going to give them about 3/4 if they're lucky.
Okay.
Because the bottom end of that, if you put any type of racks or any equipment out there, between the wave action and the current underneath of it, it'll roll all the gear over.
That's a really good point. I think what I see others doing out there is using this to put their pontoon, and then they do a lot of their culling operations. Like that's what these guys do. That's what and these guys both do that. Either like these guys have a Carolina, these guys have a pontoon. That's what these guys do, the Dalbys with their pontoons. So maybe that, yes, you're right. You're not going to get actually a full 1 acre of bottom, but you'll have enough. And then you can stage operations, at least for oyster growing, where you can then have your little mooring there and work there, work without leaving your license site, which is such a asset of the Egg Island grants.
So is the current of the Herring River looping around? Is that what's happening there?
Yes, it's starting to head north.
Okay, so in that picture, it's not showing it.
There's a sandbar that's outside of us now that was never there. And between the sandbar and us is getting deeper.
Yeah, you're right. That sandbar, like right here, right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
That one that kind of pops out. Yeah,
that's happened in the last 5 years.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, where we would plant in cohogs before, we are losing the end of our nets now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is stuff that, like, when we do the write-up for it, we should be very clear. Like, people need to know what they're going to get into.
Yeah.
And if we decide, you know, if we decide to go down a road with the other, you know, with the Hilta new grant again, you know, really specific, because you get it and then you're held to the regulations. And like Stephen was saying, we don't want to set up anyone for failure. So, you know, eyes wide open.
I suppose it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make an exemption in parts of the regulation for a wonky grant. You know, like if we know they're going to have trouble with it.
Wonky grants.
Yeah.
I mean, this is almost impossible to walk on. Mm-hmm. The current is so fast here, and you're so close. You know, like all the fish are going back in here. Remember, Stephen has heard me speak before. With all the bluefish going by.
What's going to happen when they open up the river?
That's always fun. You get the bluefish and the sharks swimming around you.
Yeah, yeah. And now this grant, right? This is where they set up. This is where they set their gear.
Oh.
Yeah. Not on you have to take a boat over here because they have no area.
There's nothing there.
Here. I wish I could see Old Saw here, but I'm not. It seems so, if that's Old Saw, it seems so much closer. But.
All right, so the answer is this grant isn't real great either. Okay. So how about we have a
making it work, and Mike Sizer and Will Berry are making it work.
Okay.
You know, there's people that are out there every day, or you know, very, very often. So I think people just would need to know, like, this is going to be a challenge. You have to be up for the challenge. You're going to need infrastructure. You're going to need to be aware of the water moving.
Okay. I'd like to propose that we wrap up in 5 minutes at 8:30. That'll give us a 2.5-hour meeting. So it sounds like we might need to, if not have a site visit, definitely consider this a little bit more and have a look at the one over on Hatilda. Is there?
I'd like to get a chance to get a site visit at the Hilda one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more beneficial for everybody if somebody that has grown something maybe can walk around on it and maybe get somebody else that's in the area to speak upon it a little bit.
Yep.
Might be beneficial for everybody.
So we're shelving that one till the next meeting.
If we want to organize a site visit, I can come with the GPS and kind of have, you know, we can look exactly where, or does that even matter? Could you just kind of go and survey without, you have an idea? Either way
would be good.
It's a good point, Nancy, for the GPS to get, so we're not standing on somebody's grant thinking we're giving somebody else a parcel away.
Sure.
Okay. So site visit. And we'll discuss possible grants again next time.
Now, if you do a site visit as a board, you just need to post it as a public meeting.
Great. Need to post official site visit. All right. Okay. Do we have anything else we'd like to put on? Okay. Sorry. Do we have anything else related to tonight's agenda or this that needs to be said before we move on? Okay, doesn't sound like it. So next month we need to schedule a meeting. And is there anything else that we have that needs to go on the agenda for the next meeting besides the site visits? Yes, Nancy.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I had feedback from Shellfish grant holders about the redundancy of the paperwork that they have to do for the state and for the town for their annual grant reports. So I think I sent this to everybody, or did I just send it to you and Tom? I'm not sure. No, I sent it to the Shellfish Advisory Board. So let me know. This is about changing so that basically you would submit your state grant report to the town and you'd be done with one report. You do two.
Okay, like our trip reports. You mean?
It's your propagation
permits.
The propagation, hold on. It is your your state annual report and propagation permit application. And that will tell the town everything that they need without you guys having to like go back and forth and back and forth. There's a bit of frustration, and this is an idea that a shellfishman gave me, and I've talked to a couple other grant holders about it. And people seem to like the idea of having less paperwork. Okay. And you can't not do the state paperwork. So anyway, that would be for the next meeting if you'd like to talk about it. I send that email and I'll try and send it again.
Okay. Anything else for the next agenda? Okay. Anybody got a tide chart on hand? We'll schedule next meeting. Where'd my tide chart go? Tide charts?
Yeah, I'm getting one out. Okay, so it would be, we're on March 10th. Well, here, I can share my screen again if you want to look at this. March.
All right, I'm back.
Is there a day that's better than another to go for this site visit? And do you want to do that this month, like towards the end of the month?
Anybody?
After the first, for planning a day would be better for my involvement.
Okay. So I'm looking at the tide chart in April, and starting around Wednesday the 6th, there's a 0.6 tide that morning, but until the 13th, it's pretty low, pretty moderate. Do we want to try and schedule a meeting that week sometime?
What time's the tide on that Thursday? In the morning?
Mornings. Let's see, Thursday the 7th isn't going to work for me.
Okay.
The 6th? The 8th?
Okay. What size tide they got on the 6th?
It says it is a 9:40 a.m. and it's a 0.6.
That probably would work down there.
I agree.
Okay, so that's for a site visit?
Yeah.
For the meeting, okay. So let's, assuming the weather doesn't suck too bad, let's try that. Site visit.
Well, I hope it's not snowing.
Right? Okay, nothing on there. Do we want to try and have our meeting that night? And just get it all out of the way on the
just like the conservation.
That'd be a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea.
All right, Nancy, did you have any conflict that night?
I mean, I don't really, I'm not going to be here, but Chris and Johnny can take you guys out there. And
okay.
I'll have Jordan tune into the meeting, and maybe Johnny. Okay. Chris knows how to use the GPS, so Chris can do the daytime and Johnny can do the nighttime.
Okay. Is there anything currently on the agenda that we would
Wednesday?
All right, so site visit and shellfish meeting on Wednesday the 6th. Does that sound right? Of April?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got times for both of them? Or usually, what's the time for the throw the times out there?
I'm going to say the meeting at 6 and the site visit, the tide is at 9:40. So we could
9 o'clock.
Think 9 o'clock?
Yeah, that way we can get there, and
yeah,
by
okay.
the time the tide turns, we could be leaving.
Okay. I might not make it till like 9:15, but I could meet you over there. Okay.
Somebody can bring you out there, whatever we got to do.
Yep. We'll make it. All right. And then 6 p.m. that evening for the meeting. And we'll
how many things do we have? How many things do we have on the agenda for that meeting? Will we have 2 things?
Well, whatever comes up between now and then. Currently, we've got 2 things. The continuation of tonight.
I was wondering if we could go a little bit later and cut it shorter. That's all.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's sunset at 7:15.
Okay. That's right. We've got a time change.
Time change.
All right. Can we keep it at 6 for the next meeting, and then after that change it for the summer? And we'll give our other guys a chance to weigh in on it too.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So we're all in agreement. April 6th, 2 meetings that same day. We've got 2 things so far for the agenda. We'll get Tom to watch this video and he'll take the notes, I hope. And we'll have minutes. We'll have 2 sets of minutes. All right. Am I forgetting anything? I'm tired. All right. So then we're done. We are adjourning officially at 8:35 p.m.
Motion to adjourn. Do a motion.
Oh, motion. Second that.
Second that.
All right. All in favor?
Thank you, Becca. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you next month. Bye-bye.